Hi, everyone. Welcome to A Way of God's Remembrance, presented by Awake to Love. You have joined us for a very special gathering. Michael Hayes is here. Michael is co-founder of Awake to Love. And for the first of our intended monthly visits, Alicia Das is with us, the other co-founder of Awake to Love, also Michael's wife, and from my experience, the foremost authority on this planet for the angelic kingdom. So we have so much wisdom here. I am Lee. I'm here with Cindy. We are your volunteer Zoom hosts. And now, as a way of introduction to our weekly gatherings, I'm going to read Michael's words, which clarify the focus and the format for these gatherings. Before I do that, just to not pretend that I've chosen a very strange virtual background, I am in my car at the giant Whole Foods here in Cupertino with excellent internet, since there's no internet at my home, so light. Okay, Michael's words. This is a weekly gathering for those seeking greater awareness of their true nature. There are many paths and approaches to higher consciousness and to greater awakening to who we truly are. The essence, the truth of all these paths is more about remembering who we are and have always been, rather than becoming something different or more than we have seen ourselves to be. A way of God's remembrance goes to the heart, to the intention of all the paths. This is what we will explore each week. Michael will share thoughts and awarenesses that come forward as relevant and purposeful for our time together. And then Alicia will share the wisdoms that she is inspired with that would be valuable for us and also lead us in an integrating meditation. This will all be followed by questions and answers related to what Michael and Alicia have shared about. We will begin with an invocation of light to help support us all to be in collective alignment. And it is now my privilege to invite Alicia to call us forward into the light. And we must facilitate that by unmuting you as soon as this window goes away. Okay, now you should have the power of the technology.
Yes, hello everyone. It's lovely to see all your beautiful faces. Hi, hi, hi. So much love to you. We're so very honored that you have chosen to join us, to join Spirit. So let's call ourselves forward into the light and set our intentions to just receive grace and divine remembrance. So if you would, just take in a deep breath and perhaps place a hand on your heart and breathe in all the love of God. And as you exhale, let go of anything less than love, any stress, negativity, karma, just let it all go. Lay it at the feet of the Lord. Take another deep breath in. Just place your awareness at the top of your head as the light streams from the highest realms. Breathe in light, and as you exhale again, just let go of anything less. And just keep breathing in love and light and letting go of anything less as we open into the light of the Holy Spirit. Just asking that any karma, negativity, imbalances be taken and transmuted as we open into the Christed light. Reaching, opening, surrendering, Lord God, as we receive, as we know ourselves as one with this highest light, the light of the whole spirit. We join that wholeness, that oneness, and just be aware of connecting heart to heart with all those present, seen and unseen. So connecting heart to heart with each one present on this call, each one to watch the archives. Be aware that you are never alone, certainly not in this moment. All these loving hearts adding unto you as you add into the love of the collective. We place this gathering into the light as we open in every way to the mystical traveler preceptor consciousness, the Sarma, the Sugmad, and into God. As well, opening to the great archangels, calling forward the master teachers of our soul. Simply, Lord, we surrender that we might know ourselves as born the beloved, and so be it. Berush Bashan. And we'll just chant 3 Anahus. Anahu means we evoke the empathy or the oneness of God. So please do chant out loud in your space so your neighbors hear you and celebrate. And we'll chant here. Anah. Anah. Anah.
Welcome, everyone. And thank you for joining us tonight in this latest edition of A Way of God's Remembrance. As we were calling in the light, I was observing with real interest a large angelic congregation that showed up that I had noticed here before. They might have been here, I wasn't looking, but they made their presence really well available to all of us, and certainly to me and my awareness. I'd say there's about 50,000 of them. I asked them, they just did about 50,000. So I'll say there's about 50,000 of them here. And these are all archangelic beings. Who serve the greater reordering of the planetary formation of this earth, and also other worlds that are moving more into alignment with the Christ purpose and the Christ's path of upliftment and path of karmic transformation. A lot of different ways to describe it, but it's something that is going on. And there is a strong intention in the heavens to make available to as many consciousnesses as possible the grace the majesty and the immediacy of the Christ opportunity. When I speak of the Christ opportunity, I'm talking about a higher, more efficient, more effective way of doing our karma. And it's exciting to be part of that, to support that, and to be available to it, and to support each of you to be available to this same truth. Everyone is ultimately part of this. Not everybody knows that they're part of it, or nor knows their part to play in bringing it forward. But rest assured, there are parts to play, and everyone is going to find that out in due time. So for now, we celebrate with these angels or archangels the advent of the Christ in greater ways into this world and into our hearts. Every one of us is heir to the kingdom, and since the kingdom of heaven is at hand and the blessings already are, we can breathe in that air. The AIR and the HEIR. And know that Christ is present with all of us. That the manifestation of Jesus, beyond the singularity that we've all known about and applauded, there's this manifestation of totality of Christ that is in and through all of our existence, permeating and expanding the knowledge of itself in all of us. So with that, this way of God's remembrance is really an interesting way of describing something that happens for every being as that being comes more awake to the reality of God. I would call it a strange reversal of fortune, where we who have been seeking and craving and praying in desperation and agony and all the other adjectives we could find to portray accurately how difficult it is for us to know there is a God and know that God is there and to feel apart from it. And then try to bridge that apartness so that we are connected again, that we are together again with that God that we sense is there. So what happens is we keep trying to get closer. In the process of trying to keep getting closer, we inevitably try to become more of what that God would want us to be, that we might be close to it. And so we create a model or an ideal of what it would take, or what it would take for us to be available, worthy, ready, and permitted to be with God. And we strain and we struggle and we go through so many lifetimes striving, yet never fully arriving. And the reason we never fully arrive is because we're dealing with a fundamental illusion, a fundamental misconception. We're dealing with the conception that says we are apart from God and we have to bridge that gap. And yet, eventually, all our straining and striving and that whole process of it starts to fall apart for us. The hopelessness of it and the failures of it start to magnify inside of us and create at first a desperation, then a hopelessness. As we come more to that hopelessness, something in us says enough. And we let go of our pursuit and our sort of extraordinarily desperate toil to get to God. And in that letting go of that straining for God, a strange, miraculous thing happens. In our letting go, we actually start to let God to be present in our consciousness as something not only we're aware of, and not only that we're part of, but something that is always present. And so inevitably for all of us, we will come to that point where we will surrender the game of becoming. And that surrender, we'll open ourselves to the truth that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The blessings already are. And we are always with God. And when that happens, a remarkable thing will start to happen in us, through us. We will start to see reality as God does. We'll start to see us as God sees us. Instead of looking for God, we will be God looking. And in that process of that, we'll start to bridge the illusion of space and time. We will be in the all-togetherness of God and know it. And we'll surrender to it and realize that truth is not just a truth we have, but it's a truth that all have, because it is the truth of all. And having that and knowing that, experiencing that, living that, we come into this that we might call the Holy of Holies, the one begotten. And with it, this peace, this serenity, this all together with all. And the cup runneth over. And so with that, with the support of the God of all gods and all these beautiful archangels that came to hang out, I turn this over to my beloved compatriot here to share whatever is present for her related to this beautiful truth we live in.
Well, that was very beautiful. I don't have much to add to that. I have a bit of a story, as we talk about really, rather than adding unto ourselves, it's more about subtracting, that we might know ourselves as the divine, as the spirit. I'm taken back to when I was 23 years old and been in the movement literally 42 seconds. And I had my first sharing with JR. I promise you, I was literally wearing a shirt buttoned all the way up. I was wearing, you can't make this up, I was wearing a rosary. And I had taken on, and the rosary was in my family for, I don't know, could have been generations. And it was the most precious thing I owned. Not that I knew from a rosary. I wasn't raised with any particular religion. I had a Hindu father and a Christian mother, but neither of them were particularly practicing. And I had taken this rosary off to give to John Roger, who I had barely met. And he said, no, I can't take that, but I'll bless it for you. And he blessed it while it was still on me. And I went, and I don't even know how I found my chair. I think I floated to it. And the facilitator was picking the first person to share. And I had my hand, I had like two hands and a foot in the air. And they were going over me and looking for who they were going to pick. And JR said, her. And he pointed to me. And I asked him this very spiritual question, how is it that I can be I think it was something about living in my heart instead of my head and whatever. And he looks at me in this shirt buttoned all the way up to here, and even my sleeves buttoned, and he starts telling dirty jokes. And I wanted the floor to open up and swallow me, because I'm 23. I was at least half the age of most of the people in the room, even then, if not a third of the age, if not a fourth. And, I don't know these people. They're laughing hysterically. The jokes are getting raunchier by the minute. And finally, I realized it's not about being good. It's not about being perfect. It's not about being pleasing in the eyes of the Lord. It's not about anything I could do or earn or work hard enough for. It's about being aware and awake as one with God. This level is a blink of an eye. It's not even real. It seems compellingly real. And yet, it's about love having its way. And, after he had sufficiently embarrassed me, he started moving on and gave me basically a light reading. It was so beautiful. And I don't know if you can relate to this, but for me, I was trying so hard to do the right thing, to make the right choices, to not make mistakes. And it's not about any of that. It's not even about doing more SEs and attending more seminars and more journaling, and because that's where I go with a lot of effort. It's really about absolutely surrendering. Yes, even that. Yes, even that. Yes, even that. That we might truly know that we are pleasing in the eyes of the Lord, because we are created of love. We are the substance of love, and we are love returning itself unto itself. So those 50,000, 52,000 is what I heard, angels are cherubim. They are, it's kind of funny. They're depicted as fat babies with wings, with the bows and arrows, which is a weird confluence of things. And to me, that's about them representing original innocence, even as we're the spiritual warrior. Because really, truly, and it'll sound antithetical to what I just shared, but everything is demanded of us. Absolutely everything. Not all at once, but at any given moment. I guess it's more accurate to say anything is demanded of us. And so to be in absolute original innocence and unconditional loving, even while we're a spiritual warrior, that is the essence of the cherubim. The prophet Ezekiel talked about the cherubim in the Bible, and Ezekiel would be in this line of energy. And he shared with me, this is an inner sharing, that he was one of the first to incarnate, to take embodiment as a human with full awareness of the angelic, thereby bridging the two realms. And there are many benefits to knowing ourselves as human angels, which that would be another class. So if you would, let's just move into meditation and see if we can experience a little bit more of what Michael so beautifully shared with us. So if you would just take a moment and just take in a deep breath as you really breathe in love like you've never breathed in the love of God before. And as you exhale, just melt into that love, into that warm embrace of your Father, Mother, God. Perhaps open your heart and close your eyelids. As you open to receive from the cherubim, who have gathered amongst us, even though they are probably millions of years old. They've gathered not only to serve us, but to learn, for God is always learning. And if you say, well, hasn't God learned everything? Wouldn't it be limiting God to say that God is learning? Well, wouldn't it be limiting God to say that God is not learning? And everything you experience, even the difficult things, add to God's learning. So open your heart and receive from the cherubim, that you might be restored to original innocence. Taking a deep breath and breathe in light into every part of you, especially the places that need it. And be aware of opening, and perhaps in an ever greater way, to the Christ opportunity, to being and doing as Christ. Even as our Lord Jesus said, these things I do, you too shall do. And now just open into the divine unknowing, aided by several thousand angels and the traveler, Christ. Come into that spaciousness of the divine unknowing and ask the Lord, beloved, what is my part to play in this Christed opportunity? And would you please tell me in a way I can receive? And Lord, if it serves, be a little specific. I'll just give you a few moments of silence to hear what that is. And maybe it sounds a little daunting, a little big, a little highfalutin. But you know what? If you commit to doing it in the name of the Lord, all things are possible. JR said, if you're not getting it, it's because you're not claiming it. So just this moment, if you would, claim it. You don't have to know how it's going to occur, how you're going to do it, but that you will do it to the best of your ability. And so perhaps you claim, I am one with the Christ. And love is Christ in the planet through me. And Lord, I will play my part. I am playing my part. And that will only amplify as you will it, God. And if you're willing to commit to playing this part, knowing you don't have to know how it will happen, but just that the willingness to do gives the ability to do. If you are willing to do this, just lean forward and step into it. Just lean physically forward, stepping into that energy field, leaning forward, breathing in that rarefied Christed air, opening to know yourself as heir to the kingdom of heaven. Michael talked about air. So know that you breathe the air that Jesus breathed, the air that John Roger breathed, the air that all the saints and the prophets breathe. So with this next breath, breathe in that air all through you, knowing that as well you are heir to the kingdom of heaven. For you were born the beloved of God, which some call the Christ. And this sweet ones, is who you are. Amen. I think, are we ready for questions?
Yeah, give these people a few
Well,
seconds.
take your time. Please feel free to stay out there in that rarefied air. If you have a question, then we are right. We know that Lee has something to share with us, but we are ready whenever Lee is ready.
I am so ready. So I simply have the guidelines for questions. Questions are about a way of God's remembrance and what Michael has shared and what Alicia has shared. To ask a question, please raise your Zoom hand, which you can find by hovering near the bottom of the screen. There's an icon that says react. If you click it, it brings up a pop-up and there's a raise hand button there. We also request, if you'd like to ask a question, that you turn on your video for full participation. And if you are on a low bandwidth connection and are unable to do that, so be it. Most important, please do not ask personal questions and do not ask for assistance with clearing. Questions are for your value, the value of those of us gathered, and the value of those who will participate via the archives. And we are responsible for tracking if you do ask a question of a personal nature, and it's likely that you will not be selected to ask a question again. Finally, legal consent. I will now read to everyone. By raising your hand and asking questions of Michael and Alicia, you are giving full consent to Awake to Love to make the audio and video of this gathering, including your sharing, available as online archives for anyone to access. Please do not raise your hand and do not share unless you are in full agreement. Thank you so much, everyone, for your cooperation. And Michael and Alicia, the entire top of the screen and overflowing already has beautiful ones with their Zoom hands raised.
Okay.
Elizabeth McGlynn. Hello.
Hi, Michael and Alicia. Thank you for being here today. Lots of light to you both. I don't have a question. Well, I probably have thousands of questions, but right now I don't have a question. But I do have a request. I would like the people online, including you, Michael and Alicia, if you could please send a light to Stephen Meyer, who's having some tremendous challenges at the moment, health challenges, and also to his wife, Lily Cabrillo, who's also having some, big challenges too. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you for that. Absolutely. And so if everybody, you could please take a moment and send the light to beautiful Stephen Meyer and Lily Cabrillo. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll send that request to our BFFs, the 52,000 cherubim here too. So can you see the names?
I can.
There you go. Is she sure?
Let's try her, Maria.
Oh, and loves, we have Maria, please. We have a request that if you have not shared with us, if you could let us know that in class. It's okay if you had private sessions, but if you have not shared with us in class with both of us, in a class with both of us, just raise your physical hand too, so we know.
Hi, thank you for calling on me. I have so many questions, but for right now, I'd like to know, how can I connect with my guides and my angels and my loving help? Sometimes I do feel them physically, like when you were telling me there was all of us 50,000 angels. I did feel a hand on my right shoulder and on my head. And during my ministerial meetings, I do feel on the right side of me a presence. but I would like to connect inside of, hear them at times. And also I'm trying to learn to into my intuition, to listen and trust my intuition, knowing that it's coming from my higher self, and knowing that the presence of the traveler is with me and JR is with me. So anyway, how can I help myself in learning how to better hear them? That's my question for right now.
Michael is nudging. I mean, you want me to, okay. Well, I'm sure Michael has lots of suggestions. I'll start with the low hanging fruit, which is the angels. But really it applies to, as far as I'm aware, any spiritual assistance, numinous presence, beautiful assistance that doesn't happen to be embodied. One key to that is, and Lee, is there a way you can hide our view so we're just seeing beautiful Maria in full screen? If that's possible, that would be fantastic. If not, we understand. Oh, because Lee is just the bestest ever. Thank you, dear. So is to ask them to come in a way you can receive them, in a way you can perceive them, in a way that, so everybody just take a moment and let's just pick, it's funny because we want to pick, oh, I want, the traveler and the Christ but let's just sometimes be aware of who is present rather than making a request, although that's always okay, but be aware who's present, and let's focus and be aware of one presence. Now that one presence might be 50,000 angels, but let's pick one presence. And Maria and everyone, just ask them to come in to your energetic field, to your heart, to your soul, to your awareness in a way you can receive and perceive. And then be aware that they will come in on spiritual sensing, which is much more subtle than physical sensing. So we're probably, Maria, you and all of us are probably more aware of them than we think, than we're giving ourselves credit for. And we're just not being aware of the subtlety of this refined spiritual sensing. So I'm going to ask you, Maria, to just share. I'm going to ask you some questions, and I want you to share out loud what you get, and I want everybody to be aware of what you sense. And you might want to share it out loud into the space where you are. So Maria, are you aware of a presence? Oh, we're not hearing her. Oh, sweetie, you're muted. Still muted. Still muted. Let's see, you are still muted. Can we ask her to unmute? You're still muted, love. Unmute, there we
Got you now. Okay, yes, I am very aware of a presence at this moment.
Beautiful. So everyone, if you're aware of a presence, I just want you to, if you're too far in the spirit, don't stay there. But please, by all means, do stay there. But if not, just kind of just raise a hand if you're aware of a presence with you. Just raise something, just so I can kind of get a sense. So you're aware, thank you. So Maria, you're aware of a presence. Do you feel clear to share whom that?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And who is that?
Oh, let's say that again. Who
do you sense with you?
Oh, so I don't know who, but I feel a presence on my right side, behind me, and I can feel like a body, a presence. I don't know who, but I think in my heart, it's my guardian angel.
Beautiful, beautiful. I can tell you, I have been accused of being able to be pretty good at seeing guardian angels. It's way bigger than your guardian angel. No offense to your guardian angels.
Okay. Well, I Jesus Christ, the mystical traveler.
Okay. So pick one. I mean, they're all the same, but pick,
Yeah.
pick one.
Because I JR, because I
Okay.
grew up knowing JR, and he's very dear to my heart. So I always feel like JR is with me,
Yeah.
helping me along.
Yeah. Beautiful. So that emotion you're feeling is the spiritual sense. Did you know that? That would be called devotion.
Mm.
So just to be aware. So now we know what you're feeling. Do you have any visceral feelings? And we're going to move along here, but any kinesthetic feeling?
What do you mean by physical or?
Chills. You've already said you sense a.
Oh,
Mm.
yes, I have energy. I feel coming through the top of my head, and my hands are very energetic at the moment. Both of my hands and my
Beautiful.
top of my head and my third eye.
Beautiful. So what we're doing is we're increasing awareness here, right? So now be aware, just in the interest of time, I'm going to ask you to be aware. You don't have to answer me, but but everybody ask yourself this question. What do you sense? What do you hear with your inner ear? What do you see with your inner eyes? What do you know with your knowing?
That I'm loved. I'm loved no matter what. And inside, I know that I'm safe and everything is just fine and wonderful. That I'm right where I need to be. And I'm on my way home.
Yes.
And to keep moving forward.
Yes. I don't think you have a problem knowing who's with you, sensing the spirit. I think you have a problem with trusting
Yes, I think so.
your attunement. I mean, we can all relate to that. So I just encourage you, Maria, to do this exercise a bit more often. And then you moved into the last key I was going to share, which is to speak from spirit, not about spirit, but from spirit. So once you're aware of this presence and you amplify its presence by awareness, which we just did, but to speak from it out loud. And this is the biggest key for being aware of angels, by the way, because angels are messengers of God by definition. We're all angels, we're all messengers of God. So speaking out loud from spirit is a fantastic way to amplify and trust that attunement. And then, of course, you want to always discern that there's loving present and check out the information with discernment.
Thank you. All right. Can I ask one question to Michael?
Of course.
Do you mind or no?
Go ahead.
My curiosity, and I put that in my email. When you surrender to God, I get confused about this whole ego thing, because ego is part of your personality, I guess is the way I understand it. If God gave us a personality or spirit, and that's our personality and part of us, right? When you surrender, though, are you surrendering your personality? Like, I know to give my worries, my concerns, my love to God. And when I move forward through soul level up higher, am I surrendering part of that part of me, that personality, or does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
So it's a strange thing. This is something that I struggled with for a number of years figuring out, because I realized I wanted to not want. And so how can I surrender my ego when my ego is the I? See, the ego is our sense of individual separate existence. So we don't really, we don't surrender it. What we really do is we surrender to a greater truth. We surrender a perceptual model, a paradigm we're living in, where we have constructed a world where we're the center of it. And what matters is what happens to us in this form. And we surrender our attachment to that. We surrender our allegiance to that story. We surrender the point of perception by which we're evaluating reality. And we really just release it. And when we release that, the truth of reality, which is the way God knows reality, the truth of what was really going on, becomes available, and we can be aware of it. But in a strange way, we become aware of it not by snatching it to ourselves, but by letting go of this illusion of our individuation, by going beyond the whole story of us as individuals. When you try to get it through, I'm going to sacrifice my ego now.
Right.
It's like, there's somebody I know, might very well be on this call, told me a story once when they were with John Roger. And this is somebody who's working closely with John Roger and doing the work. And they said to John Roger, I said, John Roger, I really very much like it if I ever, if my ego ever starts to run me and I start coming for my ego, if you let me know. And John Rogers' answer was, who do you think just spoke?
Good stuff.
So the ego is so clever that it can pretend and pretend and pretend over and over again that it's giving up everything to God, as long as it doesn't have to give up its centrality in the story of us. But what we're really surrendering is that position of being the center of the story. We're surrendering the story itself. We're surrendering that it's all about me.
Right.
Because the ego, in a sense, that's what the ego is. It's all about me. And so at one point, something happens and we just release that. And the funny thing is, when we release that, the ego story is called, oh, well, we'll be obliterated. But that's not what happens at all. This ego story is surrendered, and what happens instead is this knowing appears. And this knowing is the knowing of what is really going on, and that we're part of that, this greater truth that's living all this. See, God is living through all of us. God is living and learning through all form, all expressions. And we suddenly become one with that is learning and living through all things. Instead of being one of those things that is living and learning through and claiming that we're a special thing that it's living and learning through, and that our living and learning is more important, and that it's our learning. So it's the let go and let God. So I can talk about it, but it's something you will know.
Right.
When I'm talking to you, or I'm talking to anybody here, when I'm talking about it in the spirit world, they're showing it to you. Not because I want them to, because that's what they do. That's one of the reasons I keep talking about it, because I watch how it shifts the dynamic inside people. Because what I'm telling you is something that you already know, that you always know, that we all know, that we always know, because it's what always is so. And when you come fully awake back into the truth of yourself as one with God, the most amazing thing you will realize in that moment is that you've always been with God. You've never been apart. And this whole charade, this whole dance, this whole dream, as the Hindus call it, the Maya, was just concocted so God could learn something new and different.
Got you. So even the work that's being done on the other side of it, like, so, like mentally, I want to see it physically, mentally, And there's been times, where on the other side, I've been able to come back with that information. I guess what I'm saying is, I guess there'll be, like with any initiation, a knowing.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yes,
Okay.
you will translate back to yourself experiences and information that will help you get that you are experiencing more of the truth, that in a sense that you are progressing. And those will be incentivization for you to continue. But in the end, you will know that you are God and you've always been God, and everybody is that. Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, guys. Very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. All right, can you see who that? All right, if you have not shared with us in a both of us, raise a physical hand so we can tell. If you haven't shared with us in a class with both of us, they
So-
all have.
So pick somebody.
So pick somebody. I'm going to go with Aubrey. You knew I was going to pick her.
I don't think this question is going to surprise you at all, but I'm still asking it. I feel like I've been crunching through trying to understand this for like lifetimes. I really just like, I feel such a conflict of confusion around holding in the ultimate knowing of our total godness, our oneness, our divine innocence. And then with this whole thing around like spiritual discernment, spiritual boundaries, and there being like, lower agendas or darker agendas, or I feel just very confused about how to like hold all of that. And I just would love if you have some insight.
I think that's a fabulous question, by the way. I'm sure we can all relate to that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's probably not the answer you were looking for. You're probably thinking, thank goodness this is free. I don't know what I'm going to say, but I do know that there is a presence very strongly with you that is going to help us out with this. And it's so strong. I literally like was pushing against Michael so I don't fall off the chair, because that would be embarrassing. Would not be the first time, however, leading a class where I fell off the chair. It's angelic. It's very big. It's here for this gathering, and it's here for all those that those in this gathering touch. So it came in through you, Aubrey, but it's here for everyone. You don't mind sharing, right? It's a silent one. So a silent one is, JR said the silent ones are 7 angels that stand before the throne of God, and they are the bridge from essence, from undifferentiated consciousness to manifest reality. We could do several classes on the silent ones, so go for the experience right now, because if you want to experience a silent one is very close in. So go for the experience way beyond the words, because I'm just entertaining you right now while you experience this presence. These silent ones maintain creation itself, and they only come in close at all to be perceived when major shifts are occurring. So apparently there's a major shift occurring right now. I'll tell you what I'm hearing. So this silent one Okay, so I see who it is. It's one that I don't name. Most of the time I will hear a name from the angelic language for these great archangels, and I will share it. This is one I've never shared the name of other than with John Roger. And I shared it with John Roger many years ago when I first was really telling him about hearing the angelic language, hearing the angelic language. And I shared this name. And when I did, talk about falling off your chair, and he held my gaze just to keep me on this planet. It's a very high being. So obviously I'm not even sure the name with Michael. And so I'll just tell you what I'm hearing it say. You chose to come here, all of you, but also speaking specifically to the one who asked the question. You chose to come here, actually speaking to all of you, speaking to the entire human kind, actually. That is how silent ones are. They are enormous. You chose to come here to this physical level to experience exactly what you are talking about, the conundrum of how can it be the allness of God, the beloved, the Christ, the divine, and yet that which could be perceived as evil, as duplicity, as usury, etc., occurs. How do I marry those two? How do I know myself as the beloved in complete unconditionality and still set healthy boundaries? Not easy for angel types, which is most of those present. How do I still stand up for the integrity and the truth of what I know to be the highest choice when it feels like it's taking everything from me? How do I observe what I perceive as evil and still not lose faith that God has not abandoned this level? How do I resolve that conundrum? The way you resolve it is to turn your gaze around to the perspective of, rather than, as Michael said, rather than looking for God, to be God looking, to view yourself from the eyes of God, to stop looking for God. It is time now. Everyone, if you are present on this call, you have evolved well past the state where you need to be looking for God. Instead, from the inside of God's gaze, observe what is, and you will see the I am learns through all that is and sees it all equally blessed. No one said this level would be easy. You knew it wasn't easy when you signed up to come here. When you lined up to come here, when you begged and pleaded it and said, God, I promise I can do this and not lose myself. And then you incarnated and you lost yourself. And you lost yourself. And you lost yourself until you stopped looking for yourself and started being aware of being found in God. And then you were never lost. Now, it's both and. At the same time, do your best to not do a spiritual bypass, meaning take care of business, especially when you don't want to, especially when it's mundane, especially when it feels like it could hurt people you love. Do what is the highest action to do. How do you perceive that amidst the noise of this level? You keep asking the question, and you ask the question, and you ask the question, and you realize that the answer is only and always love in a million trillion permutations. You are up to this, Aubrey. Everyone here is up to this. We, great archangels, silent ones, are aware the planet is at a pivotal time. We are aware the planet is even starting to spin differently. That is how intense the time is on this planet at this time. We are close in. Don't doubt that for an instant. But don't underestimate yourself. You are a spiritual warrior angel. You are a spiritual warrior angel. And if you judge what you see outwardly, turn that gaze around and go, oh, this person is being merciless or duplicitous or cruel. Ah, okay. How am I merciless? How am I duplicitous? How am I cruel? Sometimes it's just to yourself. Just to yourself, God lives there. So you're doing so much better than you give yourself credit for. We see you. We love you. We cry with you. We comfort you alone in the night. Every breath and instant, you are witnessed by love. Amen. You have anything?
Thank you. Bless you.
I want to say one quick thing. I'm trying to cheat because it's a little personal. I might get kicked off the call and Lee will never call on me again. Okay, I'm going to say it general. That which you're worrying about, and this could apply to everybody, but you'll know what I'm talking about. That which you're the person in your life that you're most worried about is fine. They will settle down and out, but don't try to take away the hard lessons from those you love. Hardest lesson ever, if you have kids especially, and we do. They'll be fine. Don't try to take away their lessons. Thank you, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Alicia.
How do we get muted? So we are Richard Mitz. Don't know why I said that with an accent, but it sounds exotic. Hola.
Hey, it's good to see you guys working together. Thank you. When Alicia, when you did the meditation and you said, what could God want you to do or express? A flame came forward with a lighter, but it came forward, and I'm not sure. First of all, I don't know if I saw it accurately, but I'm not sure if the flame is for me to clear out or to act as a flame with a Christ or something to do with a fire. I don't know. So I'm wondering if you guys have any insight on that.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll be quick so then Michael can go. That's the seraphim. They're called the fire angels. Archangel Michael was a gazillion years ago a seraphim. He's evolved way beyond that. But the seraphim are very high angels. They're called the fire angels. And they are deep and high and one of the original purveyors of the Christ consciousness. Purveyors, a bringer of the Christ consciousness. It looks like, and Richard, of course, you and I have worked together a lot. It looks like so this may not make sense to everybody, but it will make sense to you. Your access to who you've always been as an angel and to who you always will be, as God itself. I was going to say incarnate, but itself, because you won't obviously always be incarnate. Those two are coming together, and this is for everyone. You can, if you're having a hard time remembering God, connect to the angels, and specifically you, Richard, to the seraphim, because angels never forget their God. That's what an angel's gig is. The only time angels forget their God is when they incarnate here. And so they're one with the will of God. They evolve to the individuation we have, where it seems like we're in separate bodies. So it's a very quick shortcut hack, if you will, to divine remembrance, is to connect not to angels outside of you, to angels within you, as you, to your angelic self. And don't shortcut it, because your angelic self is at least the size of a mountain. Just saying. Okay.
So when I do that, then I'm also can be used so that in other words, so that would be my task. Then when you say, what would God want you to do? Is if I connect to the seraphim, then I could be used in a greater.
Absolutely, because then you'll be in several things. Divine remembrance of an angel. They're always one with God. And by the way, everyone's angelic self is the size of a mountain, not to make you feel unspecial, Richard.
Okay, it's fine.
Because it's our archangelic self. We were archangels before we incarnated onto earth. If you threw an angel into flesh, they would be hopelessly lost. So we were all archangels. No, I'm not going to go into the details on that again in another class. So that will help you serve in three different ways. One is it will place you in divine trust. By the way, I have no idea what those three different ways are. That is me being in divine trust. Okay, so three ways. One, angels trust. They don't only trust God, they trust their attunement to God. What we talked about with the first sharing. Two, it takes you into very visceral remembrance of God in this instant, of God incarnate. In this case, it is of God incarnate. And three, into that highest guidance, because angels are messengers of God. And so it takes you into that voice of God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was made flesh. So what predated individuation, flesh, these things? The Word. So they take you into the essence of the Word, which is God.
It's amazing. Thank you. It's like a magic gift from you guys and from God. So thank you.
It ain't from us guys. It's from
What?
I don't know about you, but it ain't from this guy. It's from God. We are just the speakers, the conduits, as at best. But thank you. I appreciate the acknowledgement. But yes, my dear, and it's really what I'm hearing this. Oh, now you're going to get your butt kicked. You ready for a butt kicking from Archangel Michael?
Sure.
So it's a short message because he's usually pretty pithy. Look at me trying to program Michael. I'm going to get my butt kicked. What I'm hearing him say is, come forward, beloved. Now, he doesn't usually speak that way. You are my own. He is speaking to you, Richard, but this can apply to everyone. Come forward, beloved. You are my child. Burn brightly, burn away everything that is not God. You have had many trials and tribulations which could seem like the fire of the law, but it has all been for the purpose of burning away that which is not the shining, the luminosity of life itself, which is always love. Come forward, stop questioning, serve. Amen.
you guys. Thank you. Appreciate the work you're doing. Thank you. And I get to ride along it, which is a gift.
Yeah. Bless you, my friend.
Bless you. Let's do Susie Temple.
You can say it louder.
Susie Temple. I want to say Shirley Temple, but Susie Temple.
Hi, folks. Thanks so much. This is fantastic. A sort of a question is regarding planetary karma, more alien planetary karma. It seems to be coming up for me and certainly on Facebook. But I'm just wondering how to clear that. And is there anything special that we do as a collective to come into balance with that, or heal or clear, or whatever needs to be shifted or worked with on any way? I'm not sure what the question is really, but it's that area that I'm probably got some karma with it.
You certainly have karma with being fascinated by it and interested in it.
Right. Sci-fi girl.
Right. And it's understandable, and it's certainly allowed by spirit. The thing that we all have to watch for, is that we don't get distracted away from sort of a higher opportunity by focusing on something like, when you're talking about say aliens, or which could be then something I had involvement with, either as part of it, or I was human and was dealing with it, or however you see it. And the neat thing about the way the spirit works with all of us is it will bring those things to us that we need to learn about. So we can look at karma as that which we need to balance, or we can look at karma as that which we need to learn about. The learning one is the higher way that puts us under grace. The balancing is we're still doing it under law. And balancing it out is great, but focusing on the learning is faster and ultimately more valuable. So karma is what attracts. If you've got a real attraction for aliens and the idea, the potential of being one, and the effect they may have had on this world and the people here, and the creation of different technologies, and your mind goes through all these different things, and I go, there's nothing wrong with exploring it, but be very careful that it doesn't distract you from the immediacy of spirit, from the immediacy of God's presence living through you. Because the same God that's living through you is living through the aliens. Are there those things that can mean something to us? Yes. Can we be distracted by trying to deal with that instead? It's like saying, instead of really going up in awareness, I'm going peripherally into something that I might think is a higher thing than me, because they may have a different technology. Or I may think by delving into that, I can solve some issues, some puzzles, some story that is important to me or significant to me and my understanding of how I came to be, believing that understanding how I came to be is part of how I become free of how I am and who I am. I understand all of that, and I'm not saying that that's an off-track thing. I say it's a be careful, watch carefully that you don't, in a way, get led astray by a fascination.
Thank you.
I look in there and I go, do you have history and karma with that? Yeah. Do you have history and karma with being led astray from things like that? Oh, yeah. So you can deal into it. Just remember the pearl of great price. The treasure for you is the unmanifest reality beyond all the forms, which is ever present, which is living through all the forms. And you are one with that, and you have the capacity to know that oneness. Many times we get tricked into prolonging our stay in this creation by thinking that if we understand, that will bring us knowing. But it doesn't work like that. You have experience, and from the experience, you know. And when you know through experience, you subtly understand. So it works in reverse. So you've been a thinker, you've been an explorer, you've been an inventor, you've been somebody with a keen imagination, you've been somebody who's been really open to new things and new possibilities, and old things and old possibilities. And that's wonderful. That all works for you. Just be watchful it doesn't work against you here. Sense in your consciousness that you're making all of this that you're delving into related to aliens more important and, let's say, more valuable to you than it really is. Which doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but I would do it with a watchfulness that you don't take your eye off the greater prize. You know, there's an interesting thing in the Yogic Sutras. They talk about these are a couple thousand years old, and they talk about when the yogi is moving up in consciousness, and the goal for the yogi is the Atman, which we would translate probably as soul awareness. And they talk about as the yogi gets closer and closer to Atman, the yogi is offered the siddhis, the powers, the abilities. And if the yogi chooses the siddhis, he gets the power, but he loses the Atman. So be very watchful that you don't get led astray into a vaster understanding about something. It's interesting, Jer was interested in UFOs. I remember he would work with me at one point. He told me there were 18 different UFO groups or alien groups that he knew of on the planet. And he told me that he'd ridden on a flying saucer. He told me a lot of stuff. But the only reason we were delving into it was there was something in there that was affecting him through his connection to all that had to be released. We found that thing that connected, released him from it, and it set him free to be here now in the fullness of spirit. So he's aware of all that stuff. He had interest in all of that. But what he really was compelled by and called forward by was this greater spirit that is behind it all. That is that thing we're coming to remembrance of. So if you want to explore it, have fun.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the feedback.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Sometimes, and I talk about this stuff sometimes. Sometimes I work with that. I don't do it because I see it's important, because there's something about that that's important for that person. Almost inevitably, the reason we're talking about it is part of them is caught in that. Part of them is, in a sense, still back there. They could have something that happened on another planet 700,000 years ago that has a ripple effect through all their existences that's still binding them. So we look into it to sort of unhook them from that. And so when that happens, you can see like a ding, 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 all the dominoes fall. And it's obliterated.
Wow. Okay.
The thing to know is that you ain't that right now.
Well, thank you very much. God bless you both.
Bless you.
She's
Let's see how time. Oh my gosh, time flies.
times it.
7:52.
Sharing. Tell us some angel stories.
Tell us some angel stories. Sure, let's do more sharing. let's see if you, I don't know who you've called on recently. So call on whoever you have not called on recently.
Oh, I didn't call any of that, any of those people.
Looks like
Okay.
Brenda's lobbying for herself.
Let's
Okay,
leave her.
we can be lobbied.
We can be had. Go ahead, Brenda.
I'm putting my hand up because the angels sent it up. And I had a dream. I had a dream last night that I would be talking to you both today, and I'm very grateful. And I was surprised only 50,000 archangels turned up because I requested 100,000.
Oh, that doesn't mean that's how many turned up. That means that's how many were needing y'all, you guys. I was going to say y'all. I'm from the South. Y'all needed to be aware of. There's a heck of a lot more in the millions present.
Anyway, firstly, thank you both for doing this. I'm from Sydney, Australia, and I was born on the east coast of Australia, and I came into a hospital that was near the cliff. And I have a divine remembrance, and since we've been doing these classes, it came forward again that I came in with a whole lot of angels. And then they delivered me to the hospital. And when I was 18 months old, I lived under a mountain near the sea, not far from the hospital. And John Morton confirmed that I was very consciously aware of having Jesus Christ with me. And I feel very blessed about that. And I'm thanking you, Alicia and Michael. Last year I was very challenged, and it required, I've had about 8 months in hospital last year, and I had to get a blood transfusion of 10 litres, and I remembered the angel said, do the diamond light to put in your blood as it was coming in. And I can remember having such a gratefulness that I had done that class. And so there was part of my consciousness that was barely here. I kept hearing very clearly, diamond light, ask that great archangels, keep asking. And I actually had sepsis, so I'm very lucky to be here. And I had 3 cardiac arrests at that time, revived and survived. So I really haven't got a question, but I'm just, I know I went, when I was there one of the times up at the higher realms, I asked God, well, I got a question, but I answered the question, if you want me to stay, I'm happy, I accept, I go. If you want me to come back and do more work, I'm happy to do that. And my daughter and 4 grandchildren were very grateful that I did come back. So I'm back here. I have quite a few challenges still, because after getting sepsis, I ended up with heart failure, and I had a bleed out of my kidney, and now I've got diabetes as well. So I'm healing because the angels are helping me every day. So I believe I know what I'm meant to do on a daily basis, but if you've got anything what I'm back here for, I think I know, but it'd be nice to hear from you both.
Once you go, but I do have something too. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, thank you for your sharing. It was quite beautiful. The diamond light that she's referring to, just so we can share that with everyone, because I have been astounded at the miracle stories that have been shared about that meditation. That's from another silent one. This one does allow her name. Angels don't have gender, but we can relate to them if we have gender, more with a gender, named Miriel. Mirael is the easy name. Mirael is close to the angelic name. So I'm going to walk all of us through a minute meditation right now of the diamond white light, because it's a very, very powerful healing meditation given by a great archangel, a silent one in my experience, who's the angel of light, the great archangel of light. So everyone, obviously, starting with you, Brenda, everyone close your eyes and open your heart and be aware of an area, either in your body or consciousness, that has out of balance. And see that area, just I'll give you a second to find that. See that area now filled with crushed starlight, diamond white light. If we could crush up diamonds, the brilliance of that light, or crush up stars, the brilliance of that light. See that crushed starlight or crushed diamond light in that area. And let it be even brighter, brighter and brighter. And now, as it starts to transmute the negativity or the dis-ease or the out of balance, it starts to get softer. And now softer, like a beautiful shimmering white light, but softer. And now even softer, like a cloud of white light. And as it continues to transmute the dis-ease, the negativity, it gets even softer as it starts to go towards the clear light of the Holy Spirit, because what it's doing is it's transmuting the magnetic healing light into clear light, transmuting the negativity or dis-ease. And as it gets softer and starts softer, it starts to go into clear light. And now that clear light of the Holy Spirit fills that area, bringing healing, bringing clarity, bringing balance, bringing love. So that is a very abbreviated version of the diamond white light clearing technique. It's on my YouTube if you want to listen to the full version. And that actually would be good for you to do, Brenda, is occasionally go on my, it's just Alicia K. Doss, my YouTube, and listen to the full version sometimes for continued healing. And I want to give Michael ample time. Wanted to share with you as well what I heard is that there's something for you to do with writing. So whether that's writing a book or blogs or articles or simply Facebook posts, but starting to write in a way that is received writing. So you're not necessarily channeling it because you want to stay cognizant, but where you allow yourself to receive the writing and then share it. So the sharing of it is probably where you might get a little nervous. Share it anyway. Obviously check inside. Is it, is this some of it? You might write 2 pages and one page may be for you and another page might be to share. And
I've been doing that actually.
Good. So
I haven't got into sharing. I would do with friends, like Susie and I are friends from New Zealand, and I've shared quite a lot with her, and she said you need to do more
publicly. I know. Do it anyway. We all need to feel the fear and do it anyway. Share it on Facebook, share it on blogs, share it publicly, because it might be that 50 people read it. It might be that one person reads it and says, you saved my life. I was thinking of taking my life. You saved my life. And that one person will be worth it.
I agree.
Well, when we started talking to you, a form came out of the spirit world, a form that you knew in another life as a teacher for you. And this was Socrates. It's very interesting that he came in. And generally when these masters of the ancient times teachers of the past come forward, it's usually because there's something incomplete or something unresolved in you related to your time with them. It's the most common reason they show up. And you created a karma in that lifetime because you felt like you failed him. And that feeling of failure and the failing of him promoted a sense of being undeserving inside of you. And that sense of being undeserving is kind of carried down over thousands of years to today inside you. And he wants you to know that you didn't fail him. The outcome of his life and his experience, including his death, was preordained by God and Spirit as part of the display of his learning and display of his particular gift to the awakening of consciousness. So you can let go of any judgment inside of you that you failed him or failed anybody else. And that any way you've held that against yourself is making you undeserving of the greater blessings of God and the greater awareness and the greater expression about that awareness. Because this has held you back now a number of lifetimes. So why don't you just let it go and give it to him? He came back for you for this. Yeah,
I can feel the release inside of me happening.
see it. He
Thank you.
just literally went right inside you and it went,
I had a lot of tears inside and they went to come up, but they just dissolved like that.
you took it that fast.
I've had a very I've shared this with John Morton as well. I've got a very strong link with Enoch. And I remember at that time, he was very close to me.
Mhm.
And I think there's something in that line that I know Metatron, the great archangel Metatron, is in that line, or he is in that line. And I just feel that presence with me a lot.
Well, maybe
So-
that come through you and serve through you and be a greater blessing to the world around you and to other consciousness.
And
Sort of, I can tell when it happens because I used to do workshops called Spiritual Gym, and when you were talking about ego, I was like, I didn't know what I was going to say, and I was edging God out or only God enter, because if you use it backwards and forwards. And today, inwardly somewhere, I got something else about my own ego, is to just let God be in me.
beautiful. And just for everybody, the relationship between Enoch, so this is pretty much common metaphysical knowledge. This is not from me. This is very widely accepted. So Enoch, who was Noah's great-grandfather, great-grandfather. Okay.
Yeah,
So he, about 12,000 years ago, he, Enoch, of course, is in this line of that we study with. Enoch, it said when he ascended, so he took his body with him like Christ did. When he ascended, he became the great archangel Metatron. And Metatron, of course, is not a typical angelic name. And usually they end with El, which means of God. And so briefly, Metatron, of course, in the Jewish religion is considered a lesser God, like a lesser Yahweh, very high, powerful angel. The value of Enoch or Metatron for us, and I have my own theories about the logistics of how that occurred, is that Enoch, so in my opinion, Enoch was a great archangel who then incarnated as a human, as Enoch. And then when he went back up into the heavens, he became an archangel, great archangel again, which became Metatron. So why is that helpful for us? Because we are, in my opinion, archangels in the flesh. And so we ascend in each moment that we say we do, and can be aware of ourselves as winged beings, all God, which is what Enoch or Metatron demonstrated. So if we want that experience of heaven on earth, of God being, we can call upon Metatron to give us a very visceral experience of that. Okay, thank you, dear.
Thank you. Thank you both. Love you.
Love you too. Okay, what time is it? It is 8:09. Huh?
Done a lot of sharing.
It's 8:09. So do you want to do more sharing, or do you want to do a meditation, or what? Do you want to talk?
I've talked a lot.
You want to share stories?
We've got
You wanted
hands.
me to share stories. But,
See a bunch of hands.
oh, more hands came. Oh, have you shared with her before?
It is. Oh, I don't know. Let's try it.
Leah, have you shared with us before? Leah, I'm not sure. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
Leah.
Yeah.
Hello, no, this is my first time actually.
Oh, great. Welcome, a virgin.
Thank you. Yeah, no, this has been beautiful, and thank you so much for holding this space with us. And I'm really am brand new, and I just
So sorry, dear. Lee, sweetie, could you just hide us so we can only see Leah? Thank you. Yay, thank you.
yeah, so so I'm, like I said, I'm brand new, and my name's Leah, and I just completed month 1 discourse, but I've also taken Loyalty to Your Soul class like twice. And I guess my question was earlier, you talked about the learning and how you truly know it's through experience. And I feel like I've been reading lots of books and blogs and taking classes and in the discourse, but I'm following the rules and only reading discourse 1 since it's the first month. But I guess what I feel like everything resonates. It's resonating. It feels true. And I feel kind of energy, even just now talking, I feel energy. So is that experience, or is something else experience? Like how do I know that?
That energy resonating through you is experience.
Okay.
And I'm not seeing you anymore. I'm seeing me. So something happened. So, I see once. So people can see me too. I'm talking. So yeah, that is experience. Those are references that you go, oh, I'm having my own experience. I'm having the experience of reading these things and hearing these things and recognizing it's almost like I'm being told something I already know, and it's reminding me of what I know, a way of God's remembrance. You're starting to be reminded of the truth. It's like the Wizard of Oz. You'll be starting to be reminded of what's really behind the curtain. Around the veil of forgetfulness that every soul will get some version of when they come into this condition, physicality. And that remembers you back to yourself, and it remembers all conscious back to itself, is sometimes called the traveler consciousness or the mystical traveler consciousness. It is, we'll call it a consciousness or a force of God that is always in that state of remembrance. Eventually, when we fully come into that remembrance, we come into a oneness with that as well. And so it's reminding us all, remembering us all back to truth, that we are one with that made all this and is animating all this with life and learning through it all. And it's a neat thing because when we come into that, then we truly know our oneness with everyone and everything. We know that all experiences ultimately become our experience. And all experience is a possibility for each of us. Hence, we can't condemn and judge it. We might choose away from it because we've learned the consequence of that expression. Like, no, I don't want the consequence of that. That's part of our wisdom. Like what up, like stepping off the ledge, the consequence of hitting the bottom. So I don't want that. So I don't step off the ledge. So that's instructing you, that which is the teacher of all, you've found yourself into a direct connection to that, which is that force of God, that aspect of God that does this part of God's purpose, which is to have a way of remembrance or redemption for all those parts of itself that go in the game of time and space, and then the game of differentiation. Now, when you come to this and you feel that remembrance activated, it's because ultimately you've always known this, but even more so, you've had other lifetimes where you've been prodded or reminded of this. And so you come back and it's just like, it just comes to, I get it. But this isn't your first rodeo trying to come back into the remembrance. And we come back into this remembrance in the land of forgetfulness with a force also empowered in this condition to be very, very persuasive, very seductive, to hold us into that forgetfulness, into the isolation of our individual story. And it is extremely good at this. Is one of the reasons there are so many lifetimes, usually before the conscious really goes, got it, and the full remembrance. So the great news is that you found your way home. So you just walk it and live it out. But the funny thing is you're walking, living it out, but that's actually even a lie. It's walking you and living you out. John Roger used to talk about there'd be people who weren't really doing their spiritual exercises, and then they would get an opportunity for another initiation. He said, how could that be? I haven't been doing my spiritual exercise. He said, no, I've been doing them for you. But when you really come awake, you realize there was always something far beyond this that was producing the transformation. We learn to cooperate with it. We learn to do these techniques and these tools because they help us to be more conscious and more cooperative with what the divine design is for us, which ultimately there's one divine design for all, but there's different variations of it, which is why God learns different things in different ways through all the different variations.
That's beautiful. And I guess because I'm so new, I'm relatively new. I just want to make sure that I'm that I really am knowing versus intellectually knowing.
Yeah. Joy is a sign of the presence of spirit.
Yeah, I feel that.
Great joy. The mind will pretend to know, but it really can't know what we're talking about, the spirit. But I wouldn't say it's a bad thing to understand intellectually. Just don't fall into the pretense that that's the real deal and the real solution, because then it could hold you back.
Got it.
There's a thing that you're going to hear talked about in the MSI group, which sometimes is called the divine unknowing. And that's where you get past that mind that is constantly questioning and trying to solve it all. And something relents and lets go, and you're just in this, I don't know. And all of a sudden, you know, all of a sudden it's clear. Suddenly you see it, you understand it, you remember it.
But you can't cheat, because I might have tried. Sure, I did try, which is like, it's the whole seek first the kingdom of heaven and then all else will be added unto you. But then you don't want it, or you won't care about it, meaning like you can't go, well, I want to know, so I'll just not know and then I'll know. It's like, no, really take an extra divine pause, an extra beat, and really surrender into that unknowing. And it's called divine unknowing for a reason, right? Take that extra pause and hang out there. Years ago when I was starting to be a spiritual counselor, and I did a lot of studying, and, Michael mentored me, and I took a lot of different certifications and whatever. And then, and what I realized is that my only qualification was that I got somewhat decent at getting out of the way, which meant I spent a lot of time staring stupidly at clients, waiting for something to come in. And my mind, I had to train my mind, because my mind, the only time I do anything slowly is when I'm working. I do everything. You can hear it. You can hear him rolling his eyes on that. But when I work, I'm really quite slow, especially when I'm working privately, because I don't tend to go into more past lives and all that. And so I had to go through I don't know how many years it was, where I did a lot of staring stupidly at people and said nothing until that knowing came in. And I could even cheat, and had, I spoke of the angelic, so I would have these archangels who went and read the record, would go and read the records for me. Apparently I speak the angelic language, but not the English language. So they would go and they would read the records for me and then disseminate it to me. And then I would give it to the client. But to be able even to be in that space, I had to surrender and be in no space. When you're really willing to be in that state of sacrifice, especially when you have someone paying you in front of you by the minute, nobody's saying anything and you're staring stupidly, right? But when you're willing to do that, it's amazed how everything really is added unto you by that divine pause and that intention. And I want to tell you I think I interrupted. Did you want to say anything else?
You're doing great.
A quick story for you and this is like third hand, but it was told to me by more than one person, I think. So this was in the movement had been roaring along for quite a while, many years, decades maybe. And somebody came in and were sharing with John Roger. And he said, and they were like, why was I so dumb to not be participating in this, which is clearly the only game on the planet? And JR said, it's not that. And they're like, I guess I had to like get ready for you or something, or prepare, for you. And JR said, no, we had to prepare for you. You are so evolved that the movement had to lift up to be able to support you. Now, I'm sure there's like the old timers in the back of the room going, what are we, chop liver? JR, talk about somebody who would sacrifice, people's opinions, right, for what the spirit was telling. So the reason I am saying this to you, Leah, is don't go, or I encourage you not to go, oh, well, these other people have been doing it for a decade, so they must be so much more evolved. who knows? None of us know enough to evaluate that, and that is certainly just ego. So don't sell yourself short because you're a month on discourses.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lee. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
bless you.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, so we have 7 minutes left. We could do a meditation.
Okay,
How about we do a tag team meditation?
tag team meditation.
Do y'all like a tag team meditation? Yeah, yeah, okay.
Tag team meditation.
Oh, sparkly fingers. Cindy remembers sparkly fingers. So does Kay. Sparkly fingers were from my angel classes. Sparkly fingers. So if you want a tag team meditation, give us sparkly fingers. Do sparkly fingers, and then you have to look at all the sparkly fingers. It's so much fun. This is sparkly fingers.
You start.
Okay. All right. I just got tagged, so I guess I'm starting. Okay. So this talk about experience. So in this meditation, we will ask you to prioritize experience over the words. So ride the intention of the words. And if you start to experience spirit, don't try to follow the words, follow the spirit. Be aware of a field of light in front of you. Being aware that you are made of light. This field is so familiar. And you know, surely this must be God's field. This must be the field from whence you sprang, having been seeded by the beloved so long ago. Observe this glorious field of light in front of you, also light, also made of the same substance. And be aware now as you observe this glorious light that there is a color of light that starts to come in. And just be aware that that field can be a different color of light for each of us. And be aware of what that color is. And that field starts to ripple as the waves of the ocean of love and mercy flow upon that field of light. And so you take one step and then another into that field of light.
And you find yourself surrendering fully into the experience of that light. You recognize a familiarity in the light, and you recognize that something from within that light is caressing you, cradling you, and also calling you. It's calling you to let go, to surrender your story, to surrender the formulation that you would identify as you. It's inviting you to surrender all the appearances and all the considerations and all the dreams and fantasies that have been part of your identity. It's inviting you to truly let go and to truly let God. And that letting go, you are finding yourself undone. This light is stripping away the storyline of your particular adventure, setting you free to know an even grander adventure. An adventure that isn't all about you. An adventure that's all about everything. An adventure that's all about everything. and everywhere. As you surrender to this, there is this letting go. You recognize in the release there, it's almost like that deep sigh of the truest contentment. Something within you knows that you're home. But this is where you belong. And that the searching and the longing that were part of your journey and part of that which propelled you into a particular individual story is releasing. Strangely, you don't care anymore about so much that you prioritized before. You're just okay being. You're at peace. And you're released into this that is true love. And the solution to all troubles is present. You are free. And this is your way of remembrance. You choose this. It chooses you. This truth is linked to you now so that it will always be available as a resource, as a reconnection that you can utilize in those times of forgetting. So be at peace. Amen. Baruch Bashem.
And Lord God, we ask that this beautiful gathering be blessed, that any residuals, shadows, trails that might remain, that were released, be taken and transmuted, so we all be filled by the ocean of love and mercy, by the field of light, by the love of the remembrance of God, knowing we dwell within the memory of the beloved. We are but wisps of divine intention. And for this we give thanks. We ask that each one present be blessed, each one to listen to the archives. We ask that each one be cleared, cleansed, and healed in every way for the highest good. As we all are vessels of divine intent, we ask that each one's aura be filled and sealed in 7 layers of rainbow light, that we might be emboldened to go forth and to serve as these conduits of divine intent, as these blooming flowers sourced in the field of light forevermore. And so be it. Amen. Right. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for welcoming me to get to play with you. We love you very much. Have a gorgeous week, and you'll see Michael in a week and me in a month. So lots of love to you.
Thank you.
You guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael,
Thank you,
Alicia.
Lovely week.
Bye.
Everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you.
God